Let's do this thing. You ready? Oh, of course I'm gonna ask you if you're ready, like while you're drinking.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. That's the podcast that improves itself, improves ourselves, and improves the self in general. My name is Ty. I'm going to be your host. And as always, I'm joined by my attired co-host, Distance. And tonight's episode, the title, as you can probably see down below, or before you clicked on this, or wherever titles are found, is called Be Your Own Reason to Put on Pants. And I think it's like, it's less about actual pants. And I think it's more about trying to keep normalcy when certain shakeups in our lives happen. And I think it's a pretty topical thing right now because everyone is living a slightly different life than they're used to. We're all doing things a little differently right now. From people as fortunate as myself get to work from home. There are a lot of people out of jobs right now. There's a lot of stuff that is going on that is out of the norm that from our usual day-to-day life. And I think it's important to I think it's important to, when things like this happen, try to keep some of that normalcy and try to keep some of the routines in your life. And that's what was the conversation we were having that led to this title? Because I remember I said this to you, and it was,
yeah, we were talking about like working from home and stuff, and I said that I miss having a reason to put on pants.
yes,
That was really
that's
it.
right.
And then you were like, without sounding too cheesy, be your own reason to put on pants.
And so when I said that, was that like, did that feel like rude or abrasive, or was that more like was it a good thing? Because I kind of felt like it was kind of like, I hate telling people what to do, so it's not like, but it was kind of like a commanding, like, hey, you be your own reason to put on pants.
I mean, I don't think it was abrasive.
Okay, good.
I mean, some people might have, if you said it to someone else, a different person with a different relationship with you, maybe, but not me, not this guy.
Good. Okay.
Because it's like one of my my buddies from work was we were talking, and he was like, "Hey man, how you doing? Like, you're all alone out there, right? Like, I got my family. How are you doing though, man? By yourself?" And I was like, whatever. I'm losing my shit. He's like, "Oh, well, you got all this time though. You can read and, do some research and learn some stuff and, and basically a bunch of good things." And I was like,
yeah,
if only I could stop drinking consistently too much every night.
How do you feel about the I don't know if I should call it a meme or what, but the idea going around that it's like, I've seen it worded as, if you don't come out of the quarantine with a new skill or hobby, then you've wasted your time. And and how do you, have you seen, well, I guess you don't spend a lot of time on social media, but have you seen like those ideas floating around online between people?
No, I haven't really. I mean, well, the one thing that he said to me, he just said the word discipline in all caps. And I was like, fair point.
Yeah.
And I think he thought he was being abrasive, but I don't think he was at all. But yeah, and I haven't seen any of that, but I think that it might be it might be it's not, I wouldn't say that that's a completely unfair thing to say. To say that if you haven't come out of this with some like new skill or new interest or hobby, that you wasted your time with it. Yeah, I think that's not a completely unfair thing to say. I'm not going to say it's completely fair.
Yeah.
But it's not completely unfair.
I can see both sides of the argument that I've heard basically between people, where I do pretty, I don't want to say I pretty strongly agree with that, but I do somewhat agree with that notion that very often we kind of blame the reason why we haven't done something on as lack of time. And right now, a lot of us have absolutely nothing but time.
Nothing but.
Yeah, and but at the same time, I've heard other people say, like someone kind of tore that post apart and was saying like, well, some of us are, just doing our best to get through the situation emotionally, that maybe we don't have the energy to be starting something new or doing anything like that, which actually like comes to an episode that I wanted to propose to you. Can I propose to you?
Only if you get on both knees.
All right. Well.
Wait, what? No, propose away. Propose away. You better have a goddamn ring.
It was going to come up naturally later with something that I plan to talk about, but it actually, just kind of slotted in right now. I'd love to talk about the difference between excuses and reasons, and how to figure out which are excuses and which are reasons. And yeah, I think could possibly be a good episode.
Almost completely positive we've talked about that before, but
I thought so.
I think that it would be an important thing to revisit now.
Okay, well, we didn't do an episode on it, but
I thought we did.
Oh, did we? Ooh, if we did, holy shit! I may have spaced on that.
Maybe we talked about doing it and didn't do it. I know we've talked about it before.
Yes.
That I know for sure. That
Okay.
I'm 100% certain of. Whereas if we've done an episode, it's another. I don't know. If we have, then we should revisit it in the current context. Either way.
Okay. Cool.
Either way, it's a good thing to do now. If we've done it before or not, I'm good with that. That sounds good. Yeah. I'm very interested in that one.
That was like what I thought about the answer to that post, where someone was saying, well, some of us are just trying our best to, be emotionally stable through this and come to grips. And it's like, if the best we can do is lay in bed all day, then, then maybe that's all we can do. Which I don't like. I think that does borderline on that. Like, is it a reason or is it excuse? I do know that, mental stability is a very subjective thing. One person's trauma is another person's, Tuesday. So I don't know, like, I can't put myself in everyone's shoes to say like, oh, well, you're obviously just making excuses for why you're using this time properly or anything. But I do know that, as I was saying, we very, very often use the lack of time as the reason or excuse why we aren't getting things done. And when things change and our schedule widens up and we're literally at home the entire time, it is a great time to to make use of that.
Yeah, and I forget who it was, but there's an author that wrote one of those, like, self-help whatever books, that said that it's when you, instead of saying that I don't have time, you should be honest with yourself and say it's not a priority.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And and if people have different priorities now than they normally would, then I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. But it all depends on the situation. Everybody has to clearly and reasonably examine their own situation and determine if they truly are just making excuses for the situation, or if they really do have a difficult time. But the other thing is like, so say we all. I mean, come on. Some of us are in different situations as far as employment goes.
Yep.
And that is pretty rough. And actually, I'm encouraging the people that I know, that anyone that's eligible for a stimulus check that does have an income, that we should take responsibility for the people around us, and we should offer the amount of money that we get. If we don't need it, if it ends up being extra, we should offer at least a portion of that money to someone that's doing badly. And I don't mean fucking charities. Screw that shit. I mean, you find a person that because we all know someone, and you go and you give that person money out of your pocket if you can afford it right now. If you're making an income and you have enough money and they give you a stimulus check anyway, there's no reason for you to keep it. At least not all of it.
And if they're willing to accept that too, because I mean, sometimes some people that's an insult to, like, so make sure that it is like a willing thing, not just like, hey, you look poor, take some money.
I was watching this. It was actually really funny. It was a TikTok video. It was called Grandma Day 1.
Grandma Day, okay.
This guy's grandma gets in the car and she's like, "Here's some gas money." He's like, Grandma, I don't need gas money. I don't care what you don't want. Take the fucking gas money. And she was like, okay. She's like, I mean, you're carting me around today. It's only fair. Like, but Grandma, I'm rich. I'm rich. I don't care what you don't want. Take the goddamn money. So it was one of those situations where he was really just kind of trolling his grandma, but
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like my grandparents died before I was born, but like I feel I wouldn't really be comfortable with that. But hey, if grandma insists, I'd be like, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
fine,
Exactly. Yeah.
I pay taxes. Some of that money might be out of my paycheck. Who knows? But that's another thing to note. I'm fairly certain these stimulus checks will be taxed as income. If I'm not
Probably.
mistaken.
I think so.
So
Yeah.
that's something to bear in mind if anybody decides to offer it to someone to like help them out. But I think that's truly like I think that's a good and a noble thing. And I'm not talking because charities are fine with me, but the thing is that it's more valuable when there's a person in your life that
Yes.
is doing everything that they can, and they're still in a bad spot. Then it really is our responsibility to like reach out and like help them,
Yeah.
And I'm someone that's very into like personal responsibility, but that also means that when people are in a bad spot, you take responsibility for helping those people with absolutely no expectations for expecting them to help you back in the future.
Well, I mean, that's exactly just what community is. Like the idea of like, sure, charities are great, like you're saying. I mean, some do great things, but giving to a charity, the money is just kind of, it's going out there into the universe, and you're kind of taking it on faith that this organization is doing something proper with it and that it's going to help people. Versus if you actually know someone that is you're somewhat intimately acquainted with, or you actually even if it's just an acquaintance, it's still like it's within your own community and it's helping someone directly with no middleman in between. No one, it's not going to pay anyone's salary or it's not keeping the lights on for some organization. It's literally just going to a person.
Right. And the point being, coming back to what you were talking about, that the point being in this case, what I'm saying is that if you can help somebody else, if you can afford it, if that truly is extra money for you that you really don't need, then the general you, obviously, or each of us, then you actually might be able to help that person alleviate some of the pressure that's on them. And you might actually be able to help that person be able to use this time for something else other than freaking out.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
And that's something that's important. And also another thing to note here, in addition to, this is so off topic of the actual podcast, but if you don't come out of this situation feeling a little bit closer to the people around you, then there's also something very wrong.
It's interesting to like actually be distancing yourself from people and then come out of it feeling a little closer. But I like that.
You will literally be very far from them, but you will figuratively be closer in the end, I think. There's a lot of people that I feel a lot closer to now than I did before, which is actually kind of cool.
Good, yeah.
And everybody's like, the world will be permanently changed. But the context of that always seems negative, and I don't think it has to be.
Exactly. I think just human beings, we tend to dislike change. No matter how bad things are, we kind of get stuck in our grooves, and we like things to stay a certain way. Like same is comfortable, and change can be scary. Change can be uncomfortable. But at the same time, like you're saying, it doesn't necessarily have to be bad.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it's also getting to the point where this actually is starting I'm actually starting to get pretty comfortable with this, which may or may not be a good thing.
Yeah, what would make it a bad thing? I think, like getting comfortable with it. Yeah, I think if anything, it's just growth in my mind. But how? I'm probably just overlooking what could be the negative there.
Well, it's like when I interviewed Craig for the COVID-19 podcast that we did. When I asked him, is this starting to feel like the new normal? He was like, I hope it never gets like that. Like, I hope it doesn't ever. I feel him on that, because if it feels like the new normal, then that means that, I guess, regardless of if it's good or in the long run or builds character for any of us, regardless of that, it's quite unfortunate if we experience this for so long that it becomes the new normal. But once again, it's like, the whole Greatest Generation thing. The reason why we call them that is because life sucked in a lot of ways for those people.
Yes, definitely.
So maybe there's some growth in the suffering, so to speak.
Yeah, well, yeah. To take a page out of Joe Rogan's book, I think it says a lot. The whole like pressure creates diamonds thing, where it's like, yeah, a lot of people, like more often than not, if you're coming from a rough situation, if you're coming from a lot of pressure, a lot of tension, it's just going to build character.
Yeah, and that is important. And then it kind of goes back to the whole point of, if you don't learn a new skill or pick up a new hobby, then you're wasting your time with this. That comes back to the point that you're doing that regardless of anyone else.
Yes,
you're
exactly.
doing that strictly for yourself to be a better human.
Yeah, just like putting on pants. Which interestingly, we also we kind of touched on this last week about when we were talking about so last week's episode was about the term and the idea of attractive, and we were talking about the ways to make yourself more attractive, and it came down to, even though it was like physical things you can do, it's all about what it does to your interior. It's all about making you feel more comfortable with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this situation is a lot like that. It highlights that if you are the reason that you're getting dressed, rather than, oh, because I'm going to the office I have to wear this shirt or things like that. Mm-hmm. The internal motivation, I think, is exponentially more important.
Yeah, and it comes back to the idea that what you just said, that it changes you internally. Mm-hmm. That I've recognized now. Like, I had a thought the other day. I was like looking at my like LeBron sneakers sitting on my like little cubby shelf where I put my shoes. Mm. I was like, man, it's a shame. I thought those mattered, but now I can't wear them out nowheres, and can't nobody see me in them. What a waste. And I was like, wait a goddamn second. Those shoes feel real good to wear.
Okay.
I'm going to put them on. And I put them on, and I was like, oh, yeah. I bought these because I like them. Yeah. I bought these because they feel good on my feet. I bought these because they make me an inch taller.
Well, that does make me think of a few things. Like, there are plenty of like shoes or other articles of clothing that literally aren't comfortable. You wear them simply because they look a certain way, or like it's presentable or things. I mean, like, for instance, the way that I dress when I'm at the office with a tucked in shirt, I honestly hate that. I think it's incredibly uncomfortable. I'm not going to at home tuck in my shirt. But I wonder, like, honestly, should I? Like, will it make me feel just a little more professional? Will it make me act in a way like that's a little different? But
I mean, it might, like, from an appearance perspective, guys that are like, my height, like, 5'9", somewhere in there, tucking your shirt makes you look a little taller. Mm. But for you, it doesn't matter because you're like, 9 feet tall.
So, yeah, I don't need to look taller. Yeah.
Well, to me, 6'2" may as well be 9 feet.
True. Yeah.
But it's funny because I'm like an average height for the world, but in the U.S. I'm actually below average.
We see tall people over here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, we do. But it made me recognize that I bought those sneakers not because other people could see me in them, but because I enjoyed the way that they felt when I wore them, and I kind of wore them around the apartment for like an hour and a half or so.
Good.
And I was like, God damn, I fucking love these shoes. Like, I can't believe I haven't put these on in like a month and a half.
Yeah.
It's been about a month, maybe a month and a week now, 5 weeks.
Oh, it's been a little bit. I don't even know when the last time I wore shoes was.
Yeah. If you got a pair you like, put them on. You won't regret it, I promise. But there's so much that a lot of this has made me realize about the motive for what I do personally. And it's made me understand that it shouldn't, none of it should ever have anything to do with anyone else.
Yeah.
Certain things can and certain things should. Like, we do need to be conscientious, like the way that we, come off to people and stuff like that. We don't want to be like dickheads on purpose for no reason.
Yeah. But and certain things have to. Like, if you work at a job where there's a required uniform or something, that is for someone else. But those things aside,
But it also one thing about uniforms is it does create a sense of solidarity among people, which I think is good for the whole, even though it is for everybody else. Each individual is doing it for the larger group. And in some cases, it doesn't create a sense of solidarity at all. But in many cases, it does.
Well, you brought up a good point that I hadn't really thought about, or I guess I hadn't like articulated this thought together. But there is a little bit of a difference between doing something for someone else and doing something for all of us, because you're part of that.
Yeah.
If you're literally just doing something just to please someone else, and there's no, like personal feeling you get from it or anything, that's very different than like, okay, I'm going to do this for this community, for all of us, because that is you are partially doing that for yourself. You're included.
Yeah. For the record, that gigantic bottle is sparkling water. I'm not like coughing back like.
I thought that was like champagne. Yeah. Yeah, we popping bottles. All right. Yeah.
No, it's San Pellegrino who needs to sponsor us, because I've drank their beverage several times on the stream.
Or Propel Fitness Water. I drink this quite often. But so what have you what are the things that you've made sure to keep as part of your routine? I know that we talked about like bike rides and things like that. Like what all have you made sure not to let fall away or
Well, this has been somewhat of a struggle for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not hesitant about sharing this because it's real.
Mhm.
But I may have mentioned to you that my first legitimate hangover since the whole quarantine thing was this past Saturday.
Okay.
Sorry, no, that was my second one. Sorry, my second legitimate hangover.
Okay.
I don't know if it's first or second. The problem is that my first one was the Friday before that, the day before.
Oh, I thought you meant like the weekend before. Okay, yeah, that's rough.
Oh no, it was two days in a row, and I was like, you know what, this is not the right way to do this. So I thought, like it's okay to have a few drinks here and there. Like you pick out a couple nights of the week and have like a couple things to drink. Have like but I was at the point where I was drinking every day.
Yeah.
And I'd start like the moment I got off work, because I was able to, like, 5:00, fuck yeah.
Same here. Yeah. Yep.
Cerveza.
Yeah, and you know me that I'm like, I'm not a big drinker. Like I am not someone that drinks often at all. And I went the last time I actually went and got groceries, I also went to the ABC store, and which for anyone listening outside of the liquor store, basically. But yeah, I bought like 2/5 of alcohol, which I thought would have lasted me quite a while, and I went through like both of those in 1 week. And it was just like, okay, hold on, there's an issue here. Like, just because I have it around does not mean I need to drink every time I have the opportunity.
It's like when you told me that, I was like, wow, that's unexpected.
Yeah.
I was like, and I knew it, and I was like, and that guy's really not that much of a drinker. Like, I wouldn't really call him a drinker. I know that you enjoy a good beverage when you have it, and you have a real comprehensive appreciation for that. But I wouldn't call you a drinker. I don't think of you as being like, it's like, hey, bro, Ty's in town. You know what we're doing? Like, what else would we do? Drink? Like,
exactly.
Yeah, you're not that guy. And that guy's fun sometimes, but you're not that guy. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's a little crazy. And that was unexpected for me to hear, especially from you. Mm-hmm. And I recognized after this past weekend, Sunday had passed, and I was like, something needs to happen. Something needs to change. I was like, you need to create a schedule for yourself. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, here's what happens. Every day you need to do that. So 7:30, you wake up, you make your coffee. Mm-hmm. And you do the dishes if there's some dishes there. You do a couple things to tidy up a bit. 8:00 comes, you get online, you work. Mm-hmm. 11:30 comes, you get on your meeting with the team. Mm-hmm. You get done with your meeting around noon. At noon, you either ride your bike or you do like a quick back workout.
Okay.
And then you come back. You see, this is a little weird, but then you jump in the shower. And then you eat. That's what I've actually been doing. I don't shower in the mornings.
Okay.
I'll be doing that once we go back to, things as usual. But right now it's kind of, because I'm going to take a ride and get sweaty and gross anyway.
Yeah.
Or like lift. So it's like, may as well just wait till after.
Yeah. I've been showering in the evenings more too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, you get back online, you work, you finish up the last couple things you need to do. The last shitload of things you still need to do. Yeah. And then, you finish as close to 5 as you can. And then you crack open a can of San Pellegrino.
Is that actually coming in cans?
Yeah, you can get cans, and they're actually really, really attractive looking cans. Like they're
Interesting.
very like sexy. Yeah.
I want to see what
Right
a
now I
can
got
looks
like the
like.
liter bottle. It's funny. Like I thought, oh man, I'm drinking beer too much. I need a new habit. So I've got gallons of sparkling water in my apartment right now.
What? Oh,
Like
wow,
gallons.
those
Like
actually are kind of cool looking cans. Those are designed pretty well.
I've got 11 more of these liter size bottles, and then I've got
Jesus.
I think I've got 18 of the cans left. But no, those are really cool looking cans. San Pellegrino cans are cool.
I like how there's actually like is there like an actual like foil tab over the top that you have to peel off first before you can pop it? That's cool.
The plain ones look different. They're actually slim. They're slim and tall.
Yeah, I saw some of those. Yeah.
Yeah, but those are really cool. Sorry, I come totally zoned out on the thing you said about tabs.
Yeah, there's like, is it like, yeah, foil, like a foil covering over the top that you have to peel back first before you can crack it open? It looks like.
Oh no, not on the plain ones. The flavored ones might be different, but the plain ones, it just opens like a regular like can of soda.
I don't know, man. Hold on, this is a plain one. I think someone might have been like cheating you out of water. What if people are like refilling your San Pellegrino cans? What if you've got nothing but like carbonated Dasani in there?
I mean, I honest to God wouldn't know the difference.
True.
I really wouldn't. But yeah, but the other thing is it's recognizing that I'm doing these things completely for myself.
Yeah.
And it's also trying to not to have a little bit of balance. So Monday and Tuesday, no alcohol whatsoever.
Okay.
This evening it'll be one martini that I'm drinking right now during the stream, and then that'll be that. But it's also like I've started like realizing that if I'm trying to get back up like my mileage on the bicycle, on the road bike, and I recognize that if I'm drinking on a regular basis, that's going to get in the way of doing that.
Yeah.
So it was just making one thing more important than the rest. And I recognized, like, I was like, you're not thriving right now. You're coping.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what the fuck exactly are you coping with? Yeah, fine. There's a bit of a disaster going on. Things are a crisis.
Yeah.
You're taking the steps necessary to, isolate yourself in whatever way possible. But, I recognize like you as me talking to myself.
Yeah.
Like you're making all these excuses right now. Like, what are you really doing? And this is how life is. You need to try to take somewhat of a stoic perspective on this and decide that you will accept this is reality now.
Yeah.
And none of this reality is an excuse for me to do things that are not good for me. Mm-hmm. So now it's like just recognize that this is normal right now, and then do what you can to thrive as much as you can in the situation that you're in.
After coming to terms with that and kind of having that conversation with yourself, have you noticed your mental state improving, or it stayed about the same, or what's?
Yeah. I mean, it makes me recognize a good dirty martini, let me tell you. Gin, never vodka, always gin. Drink gin, kids. Gin.
What type of gin is it? Is it a good gin?
It's Sutler's, actually. It's made in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's one of my favorite gins for a dirty martini. I was introduced to it actually at a bar over this way. Actually, one of the bartenders there, I might end up helping him out a little bit with money.
Oh, cool.
Because he's been super cool the time that I've been. It's that place we went to that one night.
Is it the place we've been to multiple times?
Yeah, we've been there a couple times.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the guys up there.
Yeah, the place that has like actual mixologists.
Yes, like the super smart like nerd bartenders.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of those guys. I'm probably gonna have helping him out. I actually need to text him in a couple days. But yeah, I've recognized that it's kind of like that whole like Jocko Willink extreme ownership idea. Mm-hmm. That once you recognize that you need to own everything, then you start to realize how much is really in your control.
Yeah. Yes.
Once you take ownership of everything in your life and what's going on, you recognize that there's much more there, and it's not discouraging. It's empowering. You don't feel crushed by the responsibility. Mm-hmm. I think at least most people, you feel empowered by the reality that you not only do own this stuff, but you're capable of it. That it's part of your your power as a person. You know, it's really cool.
I completely agree. Yeah.
So since I've like made the changes and realized, you know, this is what you need to do. And actually I did end up getting sick at some point. I don't know if I had the plague, but I was sick for a little bit, and that kind of screwed up my rhythm as far as this stuff went, because I had a reason not to, like, you know, exercise and things like that. The other thing for me is having muscular dystrophy. I have to balance between riding and lifting.
Yeah.
Because I'm so out of shape right now. I am not used to being in a riding position on a bicycle. Like I get off and like I don't even have good discipline like with my hands on the bars anymore. This is completely off subject, but when you're riding on a road bike, when you have your hands on the hoods, you don't want to have your elbows out. You want them pointing downward.
Oh, okay.
That takes the pressure off your deltoids, and also involves your back more because that forces you to kind of roll your shoulders back.
Okay.
So you won't have as much pressure, like feeling like you're doing a push-up the whole time.
Yeah.
And I've gotten really bad about it because I'm used to riding mountain bikes. That's what I kind of started on. That's what I've primarily ridden. So you've got like flat bars, and it's actually not a bad idea to keep your elbows bent because you need to absorb shock.
Yeah.
From, you know, running over rocks and shit like that.
Yep.
So it's been difficult, but yeah, I've gotten better at it. I'm starting to adapt. So it's just, you know, making a balance between, you know, recovering and riding. And I'm also trying to lose a little bit of unnecessary weight, lean up a bit. And so now that I've actually made this a solid goal, there's so many things that are more important to me. So many things are less important to me now that I've created a goal for myself.
Gotcha. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I'm feeling really good about it, and you know, I don't know. I feel like you've probably made a routine of things quicker than I have. I think you might have realized, oh, this ain't working out a little faster than I did. So.
Well, and also, I'm kind of like incredibly privileged that, like we talked about before, not a lot in my day-to-day life has really changed, you know, other than like the driving to the office, you know, like unlike a lot of my extrovert friends, my like hobbies and my free time have stayed pretty similar. It does suck that there's not the option to go out and do things if I wanted to, but it's like more often than not, at least for the past little while, I was not taking advantage of those options anyway. So to act like it's been a huge shakeup for me would be not honest. But I mean, but of course, like that, I can't pretend like it hasn't taken any sort of toll, and that there's like no negative repercussions. But
no, yeah, I mean, even if it affects you minimally, it will still affect you. So I would like to actually read a portion of the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, which for the record, if anyone listening or watching does not know, this is actually his personal journal. So,
oh, really?
It's him writing to himself. This was never intended to be published.
I didn't, dude. That's kind of like an invasion of privacy. I didn't know that.
It's 100% an invasion of privacy.
Yeah. Same with like, same with God damn it. Anne Frank, right?
Is that actually Anne Frank's diary?
I thought so, and I thought that there was like a lot of shit in there that was like incredibly personal that they like took out of the book and didn't even want to publish. But
oh shit!
Yeah, I thought that it really was.
Insane. Yeah. So this is related to. I'm gonna actually go, because this is a lot of what's happening has made me realize things outside of this whole isolation quarantine thing. That stuff that I remember reading this in the book, and it took me about a half hour to search back through the book. And
hold on, did you not just like pull up a PDF and Control F what you were looking for? Did you look through the physical book?
I couldn't remember exactly what he said.
Oh, okay.
And I have an actual like paperback version of it, so I was like, may as well just like flip back through it.
Sure. Yeah.
But I Googled things. I did Control F on PDFs and stuff like that, but I couldn't remember exactly what he said. And apparently this portion of the book, I guess, didn't speak to as many people as I thought it did, because I couldn't find anything about it. So, okay, here we go. This is quite long. It's about a half a page, maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, so here he goes. One who is all in a flutter over his subsequent fame fails to imagine that all those who remember him will very soon be dead, and he too. Then the same will be true of all successors. until the whole memory of him will be extinguished in a sequence of lamps lit and snuffed out. But suppose immortality in those who will remember you and everlasting memory. Even so, what is that to you? And I do not simply mean that this is nothing to the dead, but to the living also. What is the point of praise, other than for some practical aspect of management? As it is, you are losing the opportunity of that gift of nature, which does not depend on another's words. So, everything in any way beautiful has its beauty of itself, inherent and self-sufficient. Praise is no part of it. At any rate, praise does not make anything better or worse. This applies even to the popular conception of beauty, as in material things or works or art. So does the truly beautiful need anything beyond itself? No more than law, no more than truth, no more than kindness or integrity. Which of these things derives its beauty from praise or withers under criticism? Does an emerald lose its quality if it is not praised? And what of gold, ivory, purple, a lyre, a dagger, a flower, a bush? Yeah.
That
Then he gets all weird and abstract after that. But
that is a really interesting thought though, because there is like, I mean, some of that, not like I agree with what he's saying, but it's like the things like gold and emerald, those are only special because of the value we put on them, right?
well, I mean, I guess he's saying specifically the objective quality of being shiny.
Yes, true. Yes, okay, that makes sense.
So it's like the emerald lose its quality, and its quality doesn't necessarily mean like its appeal, but like the things that it is itself, the things that it is of itself. And there's a little bit of like philosophical like essentialism in here, which I mean my stance on that isn't really relevant here, but he is talking about in many ways very essentialist, that things are of themselves and in themselves and self-containing, that they have a nature of themselves, which is a really common thing that Stoics go with. So I'm not like a Stoic fanboy, but I do subscribe to some of their ideas.
Cool.
But a lot of it is things that I've realized that I've done these things. I've decided to continue to be physically active, even though I have a degenerative muscle disease, a crippling disease, in fact. And I've done events. I've ridden long distances. I've done stuff that was hard. I've suffered in a way, and I, for whatever reason, thought that if I didn't document it, if I didn't put it on YouTube, if I didn't motivate some people on the internet or some shit, that somehow it didn't matter. But I realize now that even then it doesn't. It only matters to me. And I don't subscribe to nihilism. Some of that sounds nihilistic, but I don't think he's trying to be. I don't think he's truly being that way. I think the point that Aurelius is trying to make right there is that it matters to you right then.
Yes.
So who gives a shit about anything else?
Exactly, because like you were saying, I mean, there can be benefits for others too, and to ignore that, it is to ignore like some part of what could come from it, and good things too that can come from it. But to do it specifically for others, I think is doing yourself a great disservice.
Agreed. Yeah, and in many ways, I've said it before on here that one of my favorite things Tony Robbins has ever said is that in order to be valuable to others, you have to focus on yourself. So you need to create value in yourself to be able to be valuable to other people. You have to live your own life and go through your own difficulties and grow from those, and then you can help other people after that. It's like in the Alcoholics Anonymous, if you look at their steps, the last thing they do is give back. So when you've gotten on the other side of this and you have the experiences and you have done the things, now you have to go and pay it back to the group, give back to the community.
Gotcha.
So it's the same thing in anything for me, is that you grow and you get better and you create a better life for yourself, and then you can help other people do the same. For me, if someone notices along the way, cool. If not, who cares?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we said, there can be a benefit from someone else noticing. You can inspire other people to do things. You can, I mean, literally, I mean, like little things that one person does can change someone else's life inconsequentially. But hopefully that the person A wasn't doing it specifically to impact person B or whatsoever. Hopefully that was a a unexpected consequence. But
yeah, and even here, like it's made me realize what we're doing here. That I recognize that maybe no one will get anything out of this.
Yeah.
But for me, it's essentially what, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like where this came from, the original proposal for this podcast was like, hey man, we have interesting conversations. Do you want to record them? Like,
Yeah.
that's really how it sounded to me.
Yeah.
When you proposed it, I was like, sure. Okay. Yeah. And for me, if it's nothing else, I'm having an interesting conversation with my friend.
Exactly.
And if other people get something out of it, great. That's awesome. If they don't, well, I mean, that's not really what I'm here for.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if they remember me or know my name or my pseudonym at least, cool. If not, well, okay, whatever. I mean, I want to be helpful. But if not, then that's okay.
Yeah, that's been the biggest thing that I've thought of too, is that, like, honestly, like, I mean, of course, I can't act like I don't want people to view it or enjoy my content or things like that, because I mean that is part of trying to be a content creator. But at the same time, it's like my main goal is to have something that I can look back at later. It's like I'd love to, like, I'm excited to be in my 70s and be able to, like, go back to recorded conversations of me in my early 30s talking to my best friend. I think that's really cool. And, like, hopefully YouTube servers don't go down. Hopefully I still have access to this stuff in 40 years. But that's, like, to me, I think that's the biggest thing. It's just like a record for myself almost. I'm choosing to publish my own diary, unlike Aurelius, I guess.
Yeah, and I do feel kind of weird reading his book, thinking like he never meant for anyone to read this.
That is strange. Yeah,
he really rips himself a new one on some occasions, though. He's really harsh on himself sometimes, which actually is kind of nice to see that I'm not the only one. A lot of us actually are pretty nasty to ourselves. But yeah, I mean, I never really thought about it, but I guess that's kind of cool too. And the sentiment is unbearable, really. when you say things like that, I'm like, get a little bit in the feels, my man. A little bit in the feels.
Yeah,
I got a lot of feels, man.
Yeah. That's been, I mean, that's been one reason that I'd love to do some sort of content with my parents.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool to have something to, like, sit and watch when they're gone. Like that.
Dude, I would love to have my dad on, but oh fuck, I don't know. He's not a bad guy. I'm just like, what the fuck would we talk about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I've actually I've thought about, and this is completely off subject, but I've thought about having a conversation with people about Vietnam that were around for it.
Okay.
Because it's kind of a forgotten war.
Yeah. Oh, I think purposely too. I think, like, on the American side, we kind of like want to. Yeah.
But we just kind of act like it didn't happen. But it's like, what is there to revere about that? I think it would be cool to, like, have some people on just to talk about their experience with it, even if they were young and just saw it on the news. I'd be interested in that. But yeah, it would be. I never really thought about it as something that we could look back on, but I suppose this really is. But it's that I think that it's important to recognize that, just based on what Marcus said in that little bit of text, which, God, this is such a dense book. I'm on page. Let me think, or let me look here. The actual page I'm on is 47.
Okay.
And there's like 200 and some.
Ooh, okay.
I've been reading this book for a long time. It's like denser than the freaking Bible, dude. It's nuts. Or at least as dense. But yeah, it's like this. I think that a lot of this isolation stuff is an exercise in doing things not because of strictly because of others, but because it benefits us
Yeah.
personally.
Yep.
In the moment that we live in.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. And yeah, I mean, I've been trying to do honestly, you know, probably not as much as I should. Well, okay, so this I did want to get to this, like excuses versus reasons. Why don't I have pants on right now? I feel like I'm doing the whole like do as I say, not as I do thing, you know? And so I want to propose to you the reason why I'm not wearing pants. And I want, or what I feel like is a reason. And I want you to tell me, is this an excuse or a reason in your opinion, I guess. Is that something you're willing to do?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. Also, you can tell me if the reason why I'm wearing pants is a reason or an excuse, or I'm not wearing pants. Sorry.
So okay, so for me, when I stream, my light setup makes this room incredibly fucking hot. My like every stream night, my uniform is gym shorts with, you know, with no boxers underneath to try to keep as little clothing as possible because it gets very warm in here. But is that like, it's not going to kill me, you know? My legs are going to be a little sweatier if I'm wearing jeans or whatever. But would it be worth the mental benefit that I would get from actually, you know, feeling a little more prepared, feeling a little more put together? Am I making an excuse, or is that like a reason?
That sounds completely valid to me.
Okay.
It's like, that's like saying, well, the reason why I don't wear jeans on the baseball field is because when I'm playing professional baseball in the MLB, they get in my way when I'm moving, and it doesn't really allow me to you know, run the way that I would like to. Now, would jeans be more rugged, and would it make me feel like I'm a more rugged athlete? Maybe. Am I making an excuse here? Like that's kind of what it sounds like to me. Like it's
okay.
that would be the analogy that I would draw.
Good.
I think in this case it makes perfect sense because you're a better podcaster, a better streamer if you're comfortable, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So I mean, I could tell you the reason why I'm not wearing pants.
I'd love to hear it.
Because I don't fucking want to.
That's fair. And I mean, and that is, I think that's a good enough reason in itself, right? Like,
yeah, because it won't benefit the activity. You know, it's you know, it's not something that's necessarily like going to make things better for me. And also, it's like I'm at the point where I work out in the afternoon and then I shower right after. So,
yeah.
You know, unless it's like really necessary, I'm not really gonna put on actual pants.
But like the like getting away from the actual like strict letter of the law to just the idea. Have you you know, it I don't know, your weekly, not weekly, I'm sorry, you said you had a daily meeting, like a team meeting at 11:30 or whatever. Is that a video conference or just audio?
Oh, it's video.
Is it video? Okay. So
oh dude, oh my god, did I tell you what I did in that conference today?
Not today. No, you've told me a few things from other
so
what happened today?
You've seen Mike. He's been on here. I interviewed him. We played a video of him. He's kind of got that Viking look.
Yeah.
We were making jokes about him showing up in one of those like helmets with the horns on it.
Oh god, yeah.
On Monday, he shows up wearing one of those fucking helmets with a goddamn sword.
Hold on. So you were making the jokes in front of him, right? Like he did.
Yeah, he was there. He heard us like talking about it, like the whole Viking thing. And
if those were completely unrelated, that you guys were joking about that in private, and then he showed up like that, like without hearing it, that would have been amazing.
I'd be kind of frightened, actually, if that were the case. But he said, well, cosplay's allowed now. I'm like, you're going to regret this.
Oh, God. So what did you do?
So I showed up in like the Suicide Squad Joker outfit.
That's funny.
Like today on the conference. So I just like acting like there's something going on. Like, hey, guys. But all of a sudden, like some laughter erupts. I'm sitting there just clicking on things, closing tickets, typing on stuff. They're like, Sharma, what the fuck?
That's funny.
And I'm like, what? It was really hard. I cracked really bad. I couldn't act like nothing was happening.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I addressed it within about 30 seconds, but it was pretty fun. So, but
One
yeah,
of
I
the
mean,
things that I've seen that is brilliant is so this like the Snapchat or Instagram face what do they even call it, like filters, I guess, that they though you can get a plugin that's made by one of those for your webcam. And I've seen people in like video conferences with like the like the huge beard on and things like that, or just different like crazy like facial filters you can have on. I think that's pretty funny. I have not done that yet, but
I'm thinking I used that today to make my hair green because I didn't feel like dyeing it. I found a green hair filter on it's called Snapcam, I think.
oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
But I'll probably do something weird tomorrow. There's all kinds of weird shit that you can do. But but on the, I guess back to the question you were asking, on that call,
Yeah.
I just wear whatever I'm wearing. I mean, like we have a weekly update with our director every week, and I showed up with my camera on, wearing a fucking baseball shirt that I've had for like almost a decade now. Actually, over a decade now. It's all tattered and raggedy, and it was kind of like, no one gives a fuck. Like, no one cares. Our director showed up in a t-shirt last week. I'm like, hell yeah, bro.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that is like, I don't know. There is like, I kind of got caught today with that, where we have a new senior VP. What is his title? I think senior VP of operations is his title. But he scheduled just like an introduction, get to know me meeting, and every meeting that I've had for the past like 3 weeks of this, I've been the only person with my camera on. So I got to a certain point where I was like, okay, I guess we're not doing video conference meetings, so I'm not going to worry about that anymore. And then so today I was like, hair completely undone, wearing just like a raggedy t-shirt, just chilling whenever he calls at 11 for our meeting, and he's got his camera on and a nice freshly pressed buttons shirt and everything. I was like, oh fuck. And then he's like, well, and since we're meeting each other, do you want to turn your camera on? I was like, shit. I was like, yes, I will. And I felt like it was actually like perfect for today's topic. That it was like, yeah, you know what? I should have taken that more to heart, and I should have been like, more prepared for that and looking better. I don't know if it was the best first impression, but I mean, hopefully the content of our conversation was more important than my Goku Gains t-shirt. And
oh Christ. Yeah, and it probably was. Hopefully the content really was, yeah, I'm sure it was more important.
I hope so.
I don't know who I'm trying to convince here.
Yeah.
But I'm really hoping that dress codes at a lot of companies will change after this. That they'll be like, you know what, we were really doing this shit for no reason. Like, there's a lot of ways in which, like, stuff changes. Like, I love the fact that, like, you can go to churches now where people are just wearing t-shirts and torn up jeans. And like combat boots. Nobody gives a shit. Like, that's kind of cool. I'm hoping that things will keep going, because at some point, like, we're gonna be like the hiring managers at companies, and a sleeve tattoo is not gonna be like, fucking millennials. We're not
exactly. Which I was even like told that from the I actually forget what the director of operations. He's still someone that has to go in, that's considered part of the two essential teams that are trading off at my my facility. And one of the days that I had to go in to fix a PC issue, it's like I was just wearing my like jeans and hoodie and everything. And he's like, you can dress like that here, when we're all back at work. He's like, none of the, now that all the like all of our like C-level employees and everything are like, the leadership is down at the other location now. So it's like we're basically saying that it's like, no one here is gonna care. Like, but I still like the for me thing. I do feel a little more professional when I choose to dress in a certain way. And it's like, even the discomfort of tucking my shirt in and stuff, it's, yeah, sure, it'd be great to sit around and, in joggers and a hoodie and be super comfortable. But I also think that, at least for me, I don't know if it's a lack of discipline or what, but that leads to complacency. That there's just like a subconscious effect that happens whenever I dress a certain way, and it makes me feel like I need to, maybe not feel like I need to, but it makes me behave in a certain way, I think. Or at least helps me to behave in a certain way.
On subject, Ashton, I'm drinking this San Pellegrino right now, who, by the way, are not sponsoring us, but they should, for me, because I like the way it tastes and it benefits me.
Exactly.
It is your prerogative to express your dislike of this beverage.
Yeah.
But which is fine, and I've heard this, and that's okay. But I will continue to drink the San Pellegrino for my benefit. Now sponsor us, damn it!
I love it.
Put their fucking logo on the screen for like 45 entire seconds at least.
I'm gonna start just throwing logos as much as possible. Burt's Bees, best chapstick. But no, like exactly. It is all about doing it for you. And just like you said, like he is completely in his right to critique your choice of beverage, and you are completely right to not care. It doesn't someone else disapproving of the beverage you're drinking. Well, hold on. I was gonna say should never matter, but there are certain beverages, if you're drinking too many of them, maybe, and someone brings that up to you, maybe their opinion does matter. But I don't think sparkling water is one of them.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any conclusive research to show that sparkling water is is bad for your health. And even then, the conclusive research will be inconclusive in a few years anyway.
Very true.
Yeah, it's always what happens. Gotta love science. I love science for that.
So do you have anything else on your notes that you that you want to touch on, or where are you at? Or do you even have notes this week? We didn't even discuss that.
I don't have any notes. The only notes I had was that passage in that in the Meditations. That was it. That's the only thing I really wanted to read. It was the only point that I wanted to really bring to the listeners.
Oh no! Does that mean you don't have a closing quote?
Oh no, I do.
Okay. Oh my god! Do. You scared me. You scared me so bad.
This is actually from an unknown person. It's just one of the fun, like, inspirational ones you'll find on the internet.
Hang in there.
Yep. Okay, and that brings us to the end.
This is from a poster that I have on my wall of a kitten.
There's a canyon in the background with a waterfall. Do things for yourself. In 30 years, nobody is going to remember your choices except for you.
Yeah. That is going to bring us to the end of another episode of the Metacast podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed the conversation, hit that like button, subscribe to keep up to date with what we're doing, and comment below and tell us what you've been doing to make sure that your normal routines stay intact. If you're interested in further taking part in this conversation or even joining us as a guest on a future episode, join our Discord. The link is in the description down below. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode. It's going to be live Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/TylerTV. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great week.